Hello everyone, it's Viking and today I'll be showcasing my Titamon deck. It's pretty much the same exact list that I was using in that gameplay video I uploaded recently, and again I've been having a lot of fun with it. It definitely isn't a meta deck, but I think it's really funny how you can kind of just do a lot of damage with it thanks to the likes of dobermon X along with the Bt16 dobermon line. And again, I'm using TCG for my gameplay showcase along with my deck profile, so it is free by the way, so and I really enjoy it for that. So thank you to the people who made it, that being Zero and his team. And now let's just get into the video, but before that, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and thank you to anyone who watches my videos. So of course, let's start off with the Digi-Eggs, and I just won 4 of the Bt6 Titamon. This is really nice just because you get extra draws for when you discard, and I just really like it because again helps you cycle just a little bit faster. Now let's go over some rookies, and of course I won 4 of the Bt14 Goblin. It's only here for the inherit that lets me gain a memory, and again that's just really useful only because of the fact that I do discard a lot, and again seeing the memory is really helpful, especially for again when you go into the Titamon evolution, which I mentioned quite a bit in my gameplay video. The Garnet from Bt16 is also again really helpful just because of the star main, along with say if the Titamon lives a turn, you can still trigger its effect to gain more damage along with more DP quite easily, just because again draw one trash one is really good, helps you cycle. And of course the Labramon is here at full just because you get to free play it sometimes to grab back a dog animal shaman, so basically your entire top end, and the inherit to gain another memory when you play Digimon by effect is also again really helpful because you do that quite often in this deck. Now on to my dobermons, and in this case I only run the Bt16 one and the EX6 double X, and I think these are just the best ones for the deck because the dobermon, of course the inherit can be really nice just because it lets you draw easy, and it could give something blocker, so if you just have a level 4 blocker, that can be kind of nice sometimes because now your opponent kind of just has to remove it before they try to go for game. And of course the double X is really nice just because again gaining retaliation blocker can also be really nice, and of course this really helps with the inherit just because again gaining memory is something you really want to do, so you can keep torn and just hopefully do some damage. And again I like it for that, and the fact that it's also another card to help you cycle through your deck, which is really good because again you really want full megas, or at least I do in this case, so again trying to see your pieces as soon as possible is really nice. And then I run 2 copies of the EX1 Ogremon, and this is only because of the fact that I think the inherit could come up quite a bit, because say if I'm facing a deck that kind of has a lot of DP values, I kind of want my Titamon to live, and especially more so if they have a big body just that's also blocker, I think it can be really nice because the extra 2k can come up in handy. And as you saw in the video, if my Ogremon had lived against that dobermon player, I was able to again swing for 2 checks, and I think it's also a decent way to set up trash just because you again trash 1 to gain the checks, which can be really nice for just only damage output at the level 4 stage. And now of course we move on to the ultimates, and in this case I just won 4 of the Bt16 dobermon and the EX6 dobermon X. Honestly, just this one's the best one for the deck, I think, just because of the fact that it also has a pretty good inherit to give away my Digimon rush. And if you see my gameplay video, you can see that I can give a level 3 rush and just swing with it, or I could just give one of my level 4's rush like the Ogremon to hopefully get some extra damage in early on. And the dobermon X is just really good because not only is another good cycle card, you can also potentially play out a level 3 if you do have dobermon, and often you just want to evo on top of this just because the fact that you get both effects, and that's really good. And the inherit to unsuspend by dealing with your other Digimon works really well with Titamon because you'll effectively be able to swing for 4 checks. Of course we have the 4 of Titamon from Bt6. This is obviously your main damage dealer, so seeing it 4 is recommended, I think. And again, I just really like the fact that not only does it smaller body, you also get 2 checks, and again combo off with this lets you basically swing for 4. So if you have like 2 bodies on board, you can pretty much have game along with another option I run, which potentially could also get you another check. And the fact that it was spawned to level 4, meaning you could spawn out dobermon, of course get blocker, and if you combo with this, that's off the retaliation, so they would have to deal with a retaliation body, and if they don't remove it, that's really good for you, just because of the fact that they have to swing into it, because again, you usually want to retaliate into a big body. So again, I just really like it just because of what this Titamon enables, and I think it's really good. And in my case, I was running 2 ruin modes. Obviously, I know this card is kind of pricey, so if you don't want to run it, you could just obviously run something else that I'll probably try to recommend in the later part of the video. But this is still kind of nice just because, say if you can't finish game with Titamon, obviously this would help you control the board a little bit, along with the fact that, say if you have a training setup, you would still gain the plus 2k and security plus 1, so obviously ruin mode would be swinging for 2, and obviously still really phenomenal card. But again, if you can't get it, I'll try to recommend other cards, so stay tuned for that. And moving on to the tables, and in my case, I just run 2 Stellar Deck 16 Matt ISAo. And I think this is probably still really solid just because, again, you get to gain memories. So with this deck, it's kind of like stalling a fall just because you often do discard, and the extra memory can come up just because, again, you want to see as much memory as possible, so that way you can still extend your plays and hopefully just build up into a really wide board with a few blockers that might have retaliation, but sometimes of course you don't. But again, really solid table overall, and I don't really run it at more than 4 because I just want to see 1 at most hit the field, so that way again I can extend. But if I don't see it, it is what it is. I can still gain quite a bit of memory regardless, but I think 2 has been working fine with me. Now let's move into some options, and I just want 1 fly bullet just because it's just a removal option, and I think it's probably one of the better ones in purple just because it just hard kills a level 6 or lower. And again, I guess the only downside is that it can't remove level 7s, but I kind of hope that I would finish the game by the time they do get to level 7. So I just want 1 of that, and I want 2 Underworld's Call just because, again, it's a nice draw card for when you're just discarding, or if you could just hard slam it to get a random blocker here and there, which is kind of nice. And the security effect does pretty much just the main effect, which again could give you a random blocker if you have it, and that's something your opponent's not expecting. And again, I just run 3 purple men boost and 4 trades. Obviously these are just your consistency cards, so you want to see them just to grab your pieces, since you are a little bit of an OTK deck, along with the ability to swarm a little bit, at least with my build. So again, these 2 are really nice. And I want 2 Demonic Disaster just because, again, it's another unsuspend where you do have to delete your Digimon. So say if you give rush to something, you might not be able to swing with that one, but again, I still like it just because it's a 1 cost unsuspend, and this can again help you go for game in a lot of cases, and I really like it. I don't really want to see it at more than 2. Sometimes I wish I could put it to 1 and then maybe put in something else, but I think 2 is fine enough because you could just discard the other one if it's not really useful to you at that current moment. Now let's get into some recommendations, and I think you could also run the Bt4 Xiaomon just because of the fact that it gives retaliation if you have terrible cards. So obviously they might not want to block the hit if you have retaliation, so again that could be kind of nice. Also, these 2 are pretty much just buff effects. Well, this one is when attacking the Bt9 Pokemon, you could unsuspend and get it twice, which could meet this Digimon from Bt5, which is pretty much just when another Digimon is deleted, you get plus 2k, which is still really good, but again, I guess it's your preference. And also these 2 are just draw cards. Well, Xiaomon, if a Digimon is played by effect, you draw 1, which is really good. And this is just when attacking, if you have 6 or less cards, draw 1, which again, it's also once per turn, so if you're just running low on hand size, this can come in handy. Now on to some rookies, and I think you could also run the Bt6 Electmon just because you could use this to remove floodgates and whatnot, which can be kind of nice just because, again, you do want to delete your own bodies. And I also think Ignitemon could also be kind of nice just because of the all turns effect, and I can imagine the when attacking can be kind of decent as well because you basically just delete one of your other Digimon to delete something that's equal or less in level, which can be kind of nice as well. The Goblin one from Stellar Deck 6 could also be kind of nice just because it's also not once per turn, and you can only run 1, so if you want to, you can just put this in. And I think the Goblin one from the same set as Titamon, Bt6, is also nice just because, again, it's another 2k buff. And I also think Fasco from Bt13 is also kind of nice just because, again, on deletion, draw one trash one, and then in every opponent's turn, you draw one trash one as well, which can be kind of nice to help cycle a little bit. And again, since you do often delete your stuff, you could just put this on board, use the Mock Disaster or something to hopefully draw into another useful card. Moving on to some champions, and if you still want to, you could run the Ginkaku and Ginkaku package, where this one's still kind of nice just because, again, it gains your memory. This one kills off floodgates when attacking, or just other rookies, and this one of course gets rush, so just in case if you don't have the soberest one to give a body rush, you still have this, which is really nice. And if you still want to run a more Garurumon focused low end, you could run this one. It's pretty good just because it's another draw and trash, and if they hit insecurity, you basically get a free play mat. And if you want to, you could run the Loemon, or I think the other one, Jago Luemon or Kaiser Luemon in the game, is another viable target to just, hybrid for game. And if you want to, I think the EX3 Growlmon could also be kind of nice just because it either kills a rookie more often than not, or you trash two, which isn't the greatest, but again, you do have some ways to cycle your cards, so at worst, you just have to use another option or something. And the hair is really nice just because it's another way to deal extra damage, because again, you do often want to delete your own Digimon just to do that. And of course, we have the Bt14 Ogremon if you want to, and again, it's pretty much just another mem gain effect. And we also have Bt5 Black Realmon, again, just another way to deal extra damage, just because of the inherit, because again, you do often delete your own Digimon. And then we have EX2 dobermon, which is really nice just because, again, another way to atone Tamers or Digimon and you trash your own deck, which again isn't the worst since you are grabbing a piece with this if you do delete it. And then we have Dark Lizardmon, and I think this is kind of nice just because, on deletion, you draw one trash one and as retaliation, so you could use this to remove a body more or less, and then get your draws, so hopefully you get something good off that. And finally, we have the Bt15 Bakemon, which is on Digivolve and on deletion, draw one trash, and here it's pretty much just retaliation, which I think is really good, just because it's free retaliation, and it might be a little bit better than this. But again, this is a Digi-Egg, while this is a champion, so you might not always have this in stack. But again, when you do have it in stack, it's pretty nice to essentially just get, again, free retaliation. And in this case, there really isn't a whole lot of ultimates I recommend for the deck other than these two. And I think the Skull Greymon from Bt6 can be kind of nice, just because it's another way to get retaliation under your body. And that's pretty much the only reason, because I don't think the when attacking is all the greatest, since you usually want to be swinging with your Titamon. I also think that Freezemon from EX6 is really nice, and while you can't free play it, you could pretty much just free play one of your champions or something and then Digivolve into this. And I think it's kind of nice just because, the effect is either you gain another memory or you trash one card in your hand depending on how much cost they have. And the when attacking can be kind of nice just because they either trash or you get to free play a level 3 from your trash, which could lead into extra damage if you also combo it up with the Mock Disaster. And moving on to some megas, the Bt11 Titamon can also be kind of nice just because this also has piercing and you suspend quite a bit of body, so that way, say if you just have a blocker, you could suspend it and then swing over a smaller body. The Grand Kawaga Ace is also kind of nice just because, again, another way to keep body suspended, and you delete one of the suspended Tamers, which I think in more recent formats, Tamers are really important, so obviously this can be nice, and it's another card to deal extra damage. And of course, you could also run the one of Anubis from EX5, which again is really busted, and I really need to explain why you might want to run it. Then we also have Pheromon for Bt16, which is kind of nice just because, again, another way to put out bodies, and it could delete a level 4 lower, which is kind of nice. Then we have Bt11 Mobilmon. Again, if you really just want to run this along with Anubismon, you could go ahead just because, again, you get more blockers on board potentially, along with, say, if you just want to run a lot of retaliation low end, you can obviously just do this and not only control the board but also kind of just swing for game. And I think Golemon from Bt14 can be kind of funny just because, again, another way to deal damage, along with the fact that if you just get this randomly, you could just mill out your opponent's deck and kind of cause a little bit of chaos with that, and I think that's kind of funny. Then finally, we also have Anubismon from BT4, which is another way to kind of push the game more often than not, because you play a level 3 and then it gains rush. Obviously that can help you just deal a little bit chip damage, and again you could want any of these megas for the ruin mode, because again ruin mode is kind of pricey, so again any of these guys would work just fine. Now moving on to some tamers, you could run the BT2 mat just because it's another memory setter, and it does return a purple Digimon or option to hand. So obviously, say if you want to, you could just house slam it. Like say if they do some damage to you, you could just return one of your Titamons or just any other piece that you need. I think BT6, Soa, and Mimi could be kind of nice just because if your opponent does have a level 4, you gain 2, and it's another way to kind of filter through your deck, because you often want to swing with your Titamon, hopefully to get extra draws. And the Star EX6 mat can be kind of nice just because you do often delete your own guys, so you could just suspend it to gain extra memory, hopefully to combo off. And I think Nailbone from Star EX6 can also be kind of nice just because if they hit in security, you could potentially get another blocker, and I think that's kind of funny. Or you could just use it to free play just 2 things to either cycle, hopefully to get more stuff from your trash, or just again get block and stuff, and that's pretty much its main use. Then we have 2 other boosts here. Miss Memory Boost fills up your trash and draws your card, which can help for nice trash setup. And this one just grabs back any Digimon, which I think can be kind of nice just in case if you're missing that one piece. And Pummel Whack is very similar to the other option I mentioned on the What's Called, but instead of playing a level 4, you delete a level 4 level, but it's still another draw card if you want to discard it. Then we also have Deathclaw, which pretty much is just a removal for level 4s and below, which can be kind of nice. And again, if you want one other big removals, you can. And I know this is another pricey card, but if you wanted to, you could also run Protoform, just in case if for some reason you don't see the Soulbismon, so you could obviously just even into your Soulbismon X with this. I think Protoform is just overall a genuinely nice card, so again, if you want to run it, I'd say maybe like 1 copy is fine. And this is pretty much my Titamon list, and while it's definitely not the most competitive deck out there, I think it's just a fun rogue deck to play, especially just casually, just because of the fact that again it can just output so much damage just randomly, and I think it's just really fun. And if you guys have been enjoying my content, please again don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow my Twitter link down below if you want updates on videos and stuff. So if you want to do that, go ahead. And just thank you to anyone who's been staying to the end of the video, and again don't forget to stay tuned to my future videos. See you guys later.